Hello everyone, so today I'll be sharing my translation process for four Filipino texts: a song, a poem, a short story, and a non-fiction piece. I'll explain how I approach each one and how I shifted from literal to sense-by-sense translation to make my work both accurate and natural in English. So, when I first started translating, I focused on literal, word-for-word translation. So this allows me to capture the exact meaning of each sentence and understand the author's intent. However, I quickly realized that some parts sounds awkward or stiff in English, so I revised them using a sense-by-sense approach. So I prioritize meaning, emotion, and readability over exact word. So let me start with the song Multo by Cup of Joe. So in my first draft, lines like humingang malalim, pumikit na muna were translated literally as take a deep breath, close your eyes for now. So while it is accurate, it felt stiff. And in the final version, I translated it as take a deep breath, close your eyes for a while. So it is more natural and more fluent. I also emphasized emotion and rhythm, like changing I am haunted by my feelings to I am haunted by my feelings to capture the repetition and the emotional weight in the song. So this shows how sense-by-sense translation preserves meaning and tone of the song. So next is the poem Samay Divisoria by Jules Yuan Walden. The literal draft had phrases like the baggage of fear and you have long traveled the nakedness of the city. So in my revision, I adjusted this to the weight of fear and you have long walked the nakedness of the city. So making the language more natural in English while keeping the imagery and poetic rhythm. So even small changes like you are seated in power instead of you've been throned make the translation smoother and easier to read. So for the next one is the short story. So the short story Cuatrocientos by Juan Bautista, in my literal draft, it conveyed the events accurately but felt slightly stiff. So for instance, I was on my way home from the construction site where I work whenever I don't have class in school. Became in the final version, I was heading home from the construction site where I worked whenever I had no school. So dialogue was also adjusted to be more natural. Maybe you like the girl in blue became maybe you like the girl wearing blue. Beautiful, isn't she? These revisions maintain fidelity to the story while making it flow naturally in English. So finally, for the non-fiction text, Mga Ugat sa Paghihilot at Pananambal by Denmark B. Soko, my literal draft captured the information precisely. But non-fiction requires clarity and smoothness. So in my revision, I replaced certain sentences, combined ideas for readability, and made sure technical terms were understandable in English. This is another example where sense-by-sense translation improves comprehension while staying faithful to the original text. In summary, my translation process involves two key stages. First, a literal draft to capture every word and idea. Second, a sense-by-sense revision to make the text natural, readable, and emotionally or conceptually resonant in English. So using this method, I adapted my translations for songs, poems, short stories, and nonfiction while preserving the author's intent, tone, and meaning. So that's all for my translation process. Thank you for listening. I hope this gives you a clear idea of my approach to translation and how I balance literal fidelity with natural expression in English. Bye!